Episode 111, 3 creative customer acquisition tactics for small businesses that actually work. In this episode of Mastering Local Marketing, we explore marketing for small business owners who want practical, real-world ideas to improve customer acquisition. This episode focuses on how speed, human connection, and buyer psychology quietly influence purchasing decisions, and why small businesses that apply simple marketing strategies often outperform larger competitors. You will learn how small adjustments in your follow-up, messaging, and visibility can improve response rates, build trust, and turn interest into action. These are marketing strategies for small business owners who want results without complexity or large budgets. If you are looking for clear, actionable marketing tactics that help small businesses attract more customers and grow with confidence, this episode delivers ideas you can start using immediately. He's Matt Hansen. I'm Jim Deedlow. Hey, Matt.
Hey.
This is the Mastering Local Marketing podcast. You can get it at Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We've been doing this a while, and finally I wanted to hear this keyword, customer acquisition. Actually, I want another word on the end of it, customer acquisition cost, because that's what, a lot of the VC world is always asking for, your CAC. But one of the things that we've talked about many times, Matt, is that for your customer acquisition costs, and we did it early on in the podcast, you'd have to go almost back 80 episodes. We talked about the CAC and the customer acquisition strategy in relation to email. Mm-hmm. Is that still paramount on your mind 4 or 5 months later?
Yeah, I actually, I almost took us down the email path today, but I figured this was more important based on some of the conversations that I was having this week. I had somebody reach out to me yesterday, and they were talking about how they've built their website, that they're doing the new business, and the SEO vultures are calling them, right? And they're basically, huge dollar amount to do SEO, and we're going to drive your rankings up Google and all this other stuff. And they came to me and they asked me the question, like, what can we do to drive traffic? What can we do to get more customers? And I started having some conversations with them, and I said, there's some cheaper alternatives. One of the things that I was talking about was their Google profile and building that up, because the first thing I did was do a search and realize that they don't have a business profile on Google. So build that first, and then they're going to start to see some of those things, and we'll put some strategies together. But what I wanted to focus on today was kind of 3 strategies. I want to keep it simple. Many times we get into like 5 and 7 and 9 and 10 and so forth. But today I wanted to talk about something that's very simple, something that we can implement, something that you got to start thinking about. And when we talk about customer acquisition, people reach out to us, and I'm guilty of this as well, right? So somebody reaches out to you, I want to talk to you about, doing marketing services, or I want to talk to you about putting windows in my home, or I want to talk to you about redesigning my living room. All of these different things that small businesses, small customers, or small business customers do. And so often, and I know you're guilty of this because you and I, we both talk about this, is somebody will reach out to us and we don't react right away, right? Like they call you up, they send you an email, you're having a conversation with them, you're having coffee somewhere at a Starbucks or something like that. And they're like, yeah, I want to do something with you. And then a week goes by, 2 weeks goes by, you finally send something over, and it's, they've either forgotten about it or, they've taken a different step, right? And I was laughing because last week this happened to me again. I was like, oh man, I need to follow up with this person. Sent them a message, didn't hear anything back, and I went, yep, that one's gone, right? And we do this so often as business owners. We're like, we'll get to it. And if you don't act right then and there, right? Like it's gone. So we talk a lot about systems. I know the last podcast.
I'm glad you brought that up. I want to go back on
Yeah.
that word, that keyword, systems, but go ahead.
So, but that's what I mean. Like we've got to build systems that, the people that I know that are the most successful are the ones that if somebody reaches out to them for services or a product or whatever it is, they are on it like that, right? And I've heard some people say you should respond in the next 5 minutes. And a lot of people out there are like, I can't respond in 5 minutes. I can't turn around. I can't drop everything. But there's a lot of tools out there today that allow us to automate some of these systems. We're actually at the university, we are doing an intro to AI for businesses. And a lot of what we're doing in there is AI-based agents and things that will work for you, right? So somebody makes a phone call, can you have an AI assistant that picks up the phone and does all these different things? So how fast can we move is really what we're talking about here. And if you are still sitting there and somebody calls you for a quote, let's say I want to get windows for my house, and you call this company and you don't hear back within the hour, you're already calling 5 to 7 more companies because you want to see who's going to respond fast. The one that picks up the phone is most likely going to get the sale. The one that takes a message and gets back to you in 5 to 10 minutes is most likely going to get the sale. The one that takes a day, I've already forgotten about you, right? So we need to move faster. And that's the first thing that I want to talk about today is moving quickly and understanding that if you follow up faster than the others, you just in time will get more customers because you're beating everybody else to that end game.
I have a plumber buddy right around the corner here, and the calls come in to his answering service, which turned me off. I go, I'm calling your answering service. And, I called his phone, didn't answer, so I called the office phone. The office phone goes right to the answering service. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to follow his system. I leave her a message. And he called me back within 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. He goes, it's just easier. He goes, some calls aren't really leads. They're just like a question, like, what do I do if the faucet is, it has a slight leak on it and they want to fix it themselves or something like that. So the answering service kind of filters. And, all right, this is a hot lead, goes to him. He stops his sump pump work, and he calls the person, hey, how are you? Didn't know it was me. He goes, oh, that's you. Well, why am I calling you right now? I got two hands in the sump pump. I go, well, I just want to see how it works. But he goes, yeah, I have to call people back right away because what you're going to happen is they're going to call me and then they're going to call the next guy and the next guy and then they're done. Yeah, it could be 3 minutes by the time they found another one. So I get that, but that's his very rudimentary system. And so what I would like to maybe come back on customer acquisition is basically to get your philosophy for the small to medium-sized business in their marketing on systems themselves. Mm-hmm. What is your philosophy?
Yeah, everyone asks me all the time. I mean, I kid you not, it's probably once a day. How do you do all the things you do? And what I tell everyone is it's a series of systems that I've developed through the years that automate a lot of the processes. So let's take your buddy, right? So he's got 2 hands in a sump pump pit, which is, it's dirty work because that's unfiltered water coming in and, it's nasty kind of job. And now he's picking up his phone to have a conversation with you. He doesn't know.
And he was pissed.
Yeah. He doesn't know if it's an emergency. He doesn't know if it's you, like you've got a small drip in your shower and it can wait for, a day or two. One of the best systems that I heard recently is how we're utilizing AI to build, I can go and build an AI agent that sounds just like me. It will answer the phone. It will ask you, is this an emergency or is this something that can be handled in the next few hours? The emergency triggers straight directly to his phone. No, it can wait a few hours, goes to a series of questions that they have to answer. And then what it does is it cross-references the calendar and says, okay, well, we have an opening on Thursday from 1 to 2 o'clock. Would you be available for that? Now think about that, right? Like, we've created a technology at this point that will take that off of your plate. So now he doesn't have to stop doing the sump pump, doesn't have to touch his phone with dirty hands and everything else. And his calendar is being populated with people that are calling in. They're getting the answers. They're hearing his voice. They know it's AI, but they're getting the answers along the way, right? So it's not an emergency, but I would like to get it fixed in the next 2 days. Okay, great to hear. What is it? Is water? Is there uncontrolled water? Is there, all these questions that a plumber would ask. And you get all of that information in there, and then they say, okay, here's the availabilities that we have in those next 2 days that you're looking for. Would you like to schedule an appointment? Yes. Okay. Would you like this one or this one? I will take the second one. Okay, we've got you down. Let me confirm. These are the things that you've told us. This is the calendar date that we are going to be there. We will follow up just to confirm that nothing has changed so he can call back, right? But now he's scheduling out all of this work without him having to stop and do anything. And a lot of people are probably sitting out there like, that seems like a lot of work, but it's not.
Samino, are you listening to this part? We have a young graduating in a, I think, very short period of time here, or graduated. He just got his diploma.
Okay.
And I'm trying to teach them about systems. Oh, well, gosh, AI, it's a lot. I don't know. It gets rid of jobs. Not him, but others. That is the philosophy, exactly what I was talking about. The small to medium-sized business is probably often afraid of AI in certain things until they look at it that they already have all these systems in their business, right? Brandon has this thing where he does this kind of old school voicemail thing, and but it works for him. He's on it right away. Mm-hmm. I guarantee that if this was presented to him, he understands systems long enough to say this isn't AI, this is an actual system, and AI is just part of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, without a doubt.
I think that is the part that scares the small to medium-sized business. Oh, AI, I don't know how to use it. Well, you know how to use systems, right? Well, yeah, I do. I do it with, okay, this is just part of the system. That's all you're saying, correct?
Right. So, your buddy, if he were to sit down tonight and tomorrow, right? He goes home, long day out doing plumbing work. Let's say he gets home at 6 o'clock, he eats some dinner, he sits down. Could he spend 5 to 6 hours over the next 2 days to start to understand how people are utilizing these AI agents for calling, right? Yes. Could he set it up? Sure. I could send him a couple resources and show him exactly how to set it up. Now the question becomes we talk a lot about how valuable your time is. So he's stopping, having to make phone calls, or tonight or tomorrow he's spending 5-6 hours learning about this. If I'm calling a plumber, and I've been there, I've called plumbers, I need somebody right away, I make a phone call, it goes to voicemail. I go to the next one on the list. I make a phone call, it goes to voicemail. I go to the next one. Get somebody live. I'm scheduled it. The phones start calling me back. I'm not picking those up because I've already scheduled one, right? So that 3 minutes or that 4 minutes, 5 minutes that it took him to make a phone call back is already costing him thousands and thousands of dollars. So what you're saying is that 5 to 6 hours that you're going to go spend in the next 2 nights to learn how to do this is not worth the thousands and thousands of dollars that you're going to be losing by not incorporating those systems.
So, Joe, the reason I point this out isn't so much that we kind of have our own broadcasting and streaming processes that we always are updating, but we're trying to go to another level where we're grabbing the news here, we're grabbing the sports here, and it's all based on the agents. Mm-hmm. And each one has to be learned. But if you put them together, you could build a massive system that requires very little effort on a daily minute-to-minute basis. I mean, I used to work here 40 years ago and everything was by hand. There were 7, 8 people working all on it. We can get it done with one.
Yeah.
And I think that is what the attitude of the small to medium-sized business about AI is. Just come back to it's a system. So, all right, you set that system up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just you. Like using my plumber guy, he has other people that help him and work as ambassadors for his plumbing business.
Right.
Mostly his family. I think it's a family business. He's got some friends and, of course, the employees. How do you amalgamate that into part of the system?
Yeah, I mean, when you start looking at employees or family, they are brand ambassadors for your company. And this kind of dawned on me years ago because I thought, okay, well, how do we expand quickly? And you have all these people that are surrounded by you, and they want to promote you. They want to tell people, they want to support you in some capacity. The funny thing is when you start to reach out to them and you start to say, like, I've got a brother that lives in Miami. And I said, all right, how do we expand some of the services that we do to Miami? So I picked up the phone one day and I said, all right, well, here's what we do. You know this. You're in sales. How about we figure out a commission structure where you're out there promoting, and we started putting some ad dollars into the market and stuff like that. And he's like, yeah, great. So, now we were serving the Miami area without me actually having to go down there and knock on doors and meet with people. I mean, you've got somebody down there that's going to be your brand ambassador. But if you, from a small point of view, if your employees, let's say you have 5 employees that work in your shop or at your, for your HVAC or plumbing supply company, how do they promote you? Like, how do you incentivize those individuals to get out there and kind of share different things? I mean, do you do a contest? Do you do kind of discounts that that they can give? I'm working on a project right now where we have a 20% discount on this service that we're doing, and it's not open to everybody, but literally over the last, I don't know, we'll call it a week and a half, we've drawn in a lot more interest based on the people that are connected to that business out there promoting it. It's starting to fill up really quickly, right? Like people are taking advantage of the discount. So I think what we're saying here is you only know so many people, right? So the average person knows about 200 people closely that they interact with in a regular capacity. But if you have 5 people that are working for you, that's another 1,000 people that you can reach out to. And if you give them the tools to then, even those people can start to reach out. Maybe you have some kind of affiliate program of some sort. They know another 200 people, and then they know another, right? So it's this ability to utilize a network. And if you do it properly, people get excited about it, right? So maybe they can make a few dollars off of promoting your business, right? So if, let's say I'm offering $20 to every single person that signs up for a program, a marketing program that I have, or even better, $200 for every person that signs up, and I give you the promo code and say, go out there and tell people about it, and I'll give you, money to do this, right? People are more inclined to do that because, I can make a few dollars, plus I believe in this company that I work for, right? So that's an interesting process that, or I guess we can go back to system. It's an interesting system that most people don't utilize. They don't realize that they're many times the people that work with them are their biggest advocates. Now, I get it that there's going to be some bad ones, but you don't pull them into the program necessarily. But there are people that will sing your praises many, many times, right? So how do you get them on board? How do you work with them a little bit more to promote your business? And again, that's just another system that you have to put out there. You figure out what works best for you. If it's a discount, if it's, I remember back in the day, my dad used to sell home improvements, and every month they had a different contest, right? And the contest was the incentive, right? He was flying to Mexico and he was flying here and all these different places. And that was the incentive for them to get out there and do more, right? So in this idea, what we're saying here is connect your employees, your family, to make them kind of like micro ambassadors of your company, and utilize the networks that they have, because you're not going to be able to get in touch with every single one of those people.
So we talked about systems, follow-up, the intake of leads, that kind of thing. And then you talk about using your existing framework of contacts, whatever it is, as micro ambassadors. So ultimately, you have to understand the purchase.
Right.
And there, I think, from your classes, I remember understanding the emotional and the physical purchasing part of the system. What do you have to say about that?
So every time we buy something, we go through two different stages of it, right? So there's the emotional stage and there's the rational stage. So nobody is walking through a grocery store being rational, right? So we have our list, but probably 50% of what we buy is emotional, right? We see Oreos, we're like, oh, I want some Oreos. Or, there's a new product. Like we read about, there's a new pineapple that they've created. It's a pineapple and I think it's a crossbreed between a pineapple and a coconut. And it tastes like a pina colada. So, of course, we were going through Strax the other day, and I saw it, and it's a $5 pineapple. I'm like, well, I got to try this, right? It's a smaller pineapple. It's almost, you could tell like it's been crossbred between a coconut and pineapple, but it's taken them 2 or 3 years to do this. A pineapple takes a year just to grow, but it's taken them 2 or 3 years to actually get this to where it is. And I saw it, and it was emotional purchase. I'm like, well, I don't care what it is. Like, if it's $10, I got to buy it because I like the flavor of pina colada, so we bought it. And it was an event. Like, we took it home, we cut it up. My kids were both home, and we all wanted to try it, right? That's emotion, right? Like, why would you spend, like I said, I would have spent $10 on this pineapple just to try it. Is that rational? No, right? But we buy things all the time on an emotional response, and it's usually about, when we start to get into these emotional buying patterns, it's about 40 minutes where we start to think, oh, like you go down this rabbit hole, and you probably do this all the time online where, maybe you're on Facebook or Instagram and you click, and you're like, oh, that looks cool. And you click on it and you end up on their website and you're like, oh, I could use this here and I could do this. And, and you're ready to click that button. And then, maybe it's 40, 45, 50 minutes later and you're still doing research and you're like, do I really need this? Right? And that's when the stopwatch has kind of timed out, right? Like, we've hit the rational side. So, those of you that shop on Meta, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, and you go on at 9, 10 o'clock at night, our rational minds are pretty much tired at that point. So it's emotional. And that's why if you have an e-commerce business and you're advertising on Meta, that's when your sales happen, is literally between 9 and midnight. You get a good majority of your sales because the emotional factor is there. So what we're saying here is, if you want to understand customers, going back to the time frame, you have to understand that it's an emotional jumping in. So we have to look at, what are the emotional triggers that people are having. I call your buddy with a plumbing issue. Emotionally, I'm sitting here going, I have a sump pump that's out. It's raining. I'm in a panic. Why am I in a panic? It's not that I want a pump in my sump pump. It's, I want to save all the childhood memories, the pictures, whatever, the carpet that's in my basement, whatever it may be. I'm trying to save money. So if I'm calling you and I have a refinished basement that I put $50,000 into, and I'm calling you for a $200 pump to be installed, which is probably going to cost me $800 to be installed, right? I don't know what the current price is.
The current price on a good sump pump, I think, is actually around $220 to buy it.
Right.
And then it's probably a third of the cost.
But if it's pouring outside and I call a plumber and I call 7 of them and one says I can come out right now,
you'll pay $800.
I will pay $800. I will pay $1,000. Put it in. I don't want I don't want it to flood. Now we had We had a massive rainstorm a few weeks ago to where like there was water everywhere. And I literally was listening to my sump pump constantly. And I always have one sitting next to it because I know how to replace it. But I thought about that and I thought, I wonder how many basements are being flooded right now. And that's the emotional side of it because, again, you have so many things that you put into your basement and they're, nobody thinks about the fact that what if I get 3 feet of water down there, what that's going to do to my life. Is it worth the $800 or the $1,000 that they're going to charge me? Emotionally, I'm going to say, get here now, right? If it's $2,000, I may ho hum, but I need you to come, right? I may be mad at you when you're done, but I needed to get this done. So we have to understand the psychology of how people buy. That there's the emotional side in the first 40 minutes. Don't get to the rational side, right? So if I can get going back to the system and making a phone call, if I can get you right then and there when that pain point is hitting you, I can sell you so much easier than if I call you back in an hour or if I call you back in a week, right? We've gone through this whole process, and with you on the advertising side, people will call you and say, hey, we need to do something. At that point, stop everything. Emotionally, they've already said to you, I have a pain point. I need to do something with you. Let's get this done. All right, I'm going to drop everything. Let's put it together right now.
All right, there it is. Systems, micro ambassadors, emotional on the purchase. Your wrap up on this one.
Yeah, I think, we gave you 3. Understand them all, but change one thing. What's what we say every single time when we wrap these things up is just change one aspect of it, right? So if somebody makes a phone call to your business and you're not following up within the first 15 minutes, change that. Like try to shrink that, or even better yet, measure how long it takes you to get back in touch with these people and cut that in half, right? So if it's been a week, make it 3 days. If it's been 3 days, make it a day. If it's a day, make it 15 minutes. Just figure out a way to compress that, and I think you're going to do so much better. You're going to get so many more customers.
This has been episode 111 of Mastering Local Marketing Podcast, 3 creative customer acquisition tactics for small businesses that actually work. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, we'll see you later.